Alright guys, in this vehicle specific video we're going to be doing a 2015 GMC Yukon Denali. We're going to be doing the two fronts on this, and I'm going to show you guys the door panel removal and the cutting techniques just like any other vehicle specific video. The first thing we're going to do is turn the ignition on, and with any GM, Chevy, Cadillac, you're going to want to trick the latch, because when you turn the switch on you'll hear the door chime noise like you hear right now. So by tricking this latch, we make the door think that it's closed, and it won't make that noise anymore. So let's go ahead with the outside prep, and then I'll show you guys the door panel removal, or just the weather stripping removal, because we only pull the top of the door panel back on this vehicle. All right, now to remove the weather stripping on this vehicle, we're gonna need a drill with a 7mm socket on it, a hook tool, a trim tool, and you're also gonna need the gasket jamming stick. So the first step we're gonna do is take this piece of plastic, the plastic cover behind the handle off. You may end up untricking the door by pulling on the handle, but just re-trick it after it does, if it does come off. So once you take that plastic off, you got a 7mm behind here. We're gonna take that out. And once we have that out, we're gonna roll the window down all the way. So then you're gonna come around on this side, and you're gonna pull the door panel. You're gonna see you have the door panel with the vinyl leather, and then you'll have this piece of plastic here. You want to go under the plastic, which is the entire door panel, push in and pry away. And this is where you have the trim tool to go on the end. It's a little tricky, but you want to release these clips here. You can see there's a clip there, and you'll see them as we progress. So as you move down, you want to use the gasket jamming stick to make way for the trim tool, pull it away, and most of the times the clips will release from the pressure of the trim tool. If they don't, I'll show you on this one over here. As you're prying, you can use the gasket jamming stick to push down on the top of the clip, and that will release it. Let's just continue down. You can see I'm just working back and forth with the trim tool and a gasket stick to apply pressure. And the whole top of the door panel is now released. You want to be careful to not put too much pressure on the actual material of the door panel, as well as this outside weather stripping, because you could damage them. Just be very careful when you do it. Once you have that whole top released, we're going to pull back on the back of the door panel. Grab your finger in there, just grab the weather stripping, and pulling up and out. Now we can roll the window up and continue with the inside prep, which is standard on every vehicle. This vehicle did have tint on it, so I'm going the extra mile by getting into the edges really well. Typically you don't have to do this. Now we can wipe the bottom of the outside of the window and lay out our bulk material. As I say in every video that I've been doing, you see me using a 40-inch roll. You can use a 20-inch roll on this vehicle. I just use the 40 inches because I mostly use the plotter. So we'll lay this out, making sure the top overhangs. And remember, if you're going to use a 40-inch roll, cut the front bottom side first, halfway up. Lay it down on the window, and then cut the remainder so it falls nicely. The whole thing you want to avoid when using a 40-inch roll is this happening. You don't want the film to wrinkle. Now that we have that crease there from the film wrinkling, we have to make sure that that doesn't get in the window section when we put it on the other side. So that's one thing to watch out for when using the 40-inch. So this is a very standard vehicle. There is some type of glass coating on here which makes the tint stick to it very quickly. Not the glue side, but the actual tint side. So we spray a little extra soapy water, and we're gonna do a simple cut, shift, mount, and then cut the back. Very standard on every vehicle. So we're gonna cut the front first, leaving about 1 inch for us to trim at the end. Shift it forward about 1/4 of an inch, And I like to slide this down about 1/4 inch as well, so we get behind that weather stripping and never have to worry about peeling. And even overlap across the bottom. So I have the front cut shifted 1/4 inch, shifted it down 1/4 inch, overhanging on the bottom. We're gonna mount it in place, cut the back, and then we'll cut the top edge. Before we roll it down, we'll cut the excess material off because we're using a 40-inch roll. If you are using a 40-inch roll, you want to cut as close as possible because you do need that full 20 inches to do the other side. We'll go ahead and roll this up so that we have it ready for when we do the other side. We can go ahead and cut this top edge. Just like any other vehicle, mounting it in place, making sure you have a fresh blade starting from the front to the back. And then we'll do our final cuts. So we use a straight edge to continue these front and rear edges. Make them nice and straight. Do a continuation of this front corner. And then we'll clean up the bottom edges. Nice and tight radius. Then we can mount it on. Do our standard spray, squeegee spray on the inside. Then we can install it on the inside. Laying our front edge in first, working the back edge in, and slowly working it into place. Trying not to hit any of the plastics. Quickly getting it aligned to the top. A little tip with the GMs, I like to throw a towel on the window switches. Now I did do that while I was taking the old tint off, which you guys didn't see. But a lot of water can drip on there and it can cause complications. So always take extra precaution with things like that. We got it lined up nicely. Do a little soapy water, squeegee it out, and continue just like every other vehicle. We'll do the push out across the top. Check the top from the outside. Then we can roll it up and finish out the bottom. Going down the sides with the yellow contour. And then a final spray and go over with the heat gun and gray lid coat card on the bottom to make sure that bottom edge is sealed. Another tip on these GMs is always wipe the door panel as consistently as possible. You can see how it gets some discoloration here with the water dripping. It's just the baby shampoo, but when people use Armor All and other type of dressings like that on the door panels, the baby shampoo will cause that effect. And all you have to do is just heat it up a little bit from a distance with the wet towel. I like to do this after it dries, and that does go away, so don't be scared that it's not a stain. It's just from the water sitting on there and the actual material absorbing it and it hiding within the dressing that they used. So it'll go away. Just be careful with it and pay attention. Go over the outside, make sure there's no contamination, nothing popping up. And then we can move forward with the weather stripping reinstallation. Just give it a quick another heat. Then we can go ahead and reinstall that weather stripping. So to do this, it's very simple. We don't have to release those clips again because they're already released. We're going to pull back on the door panel in the middle, lay the front on and push it in, and then lay the back down and work the middle down evenly to make sure it's all evenly laid and straight. And then to reinstall the door panel, since we didn't remove the whole panel and it's just the clips across the top, just give it a few hits and reinstall that 7mm screw that's on the top. And of course the plastic that's covering that. And when you're done with the vehicle, make sure you unlatch the door so that when you close it, because I'll show you right now, if the door is not unlatched, it will obviously not close. So simultaneously, you're going to pull on the door handle, and then you're going to take your stick and go into opening here and just pull back as if you were opening the door, because that simply just latches on this, so we're simulating that process. So as a final check, you can already see those watermarks going. It's obviously just from the water sitting on there. You give it a quick heat with the heat gun. If you're heating the panel with the heat gun to evaporate the water, do not be close, be at least a foot away and consistently moving, because you could burn this very easily. So let's give that a quick look over. It looks like we're good to go. And that is how you tint the two front doors on a 2015 GMC Yukon Denali. I'll see you guys in the next video.